Thanks for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast, including YouTube. So please feel free to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Also, we're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Hi, I'm Stephen Willis. This is the Locked On Ole Miss podcast, and we are doing W's and L's and game previews of Ole Miss's schedule. And today, we are up to LSU. Now, the LSU Tigers have a lot going for them. A lot of people are really excited about what they can be, and I don't know if it's necessarily coming down to the offense. Although Jaden Daniels is a very toolsy player. If he plays well, LSU is going to be tough to beat. And you need to realize, they returned 8 starters, including every offensive lineman and one of the best young tight ends in Mason Taylor. A wealth of talent returns at wide receiver. They lost only Kayshon Boutte, but they do have Malik Neighbors, who had a 1,000-yard season last year. Brian Thomas had 361, was the top touchdown producer at the position. And Louisiana native and Alabama transfer Aaron Anderson is expected to be a top target. Now, if you look at the defensive side of the ball, it gets interesting because all of the headlines are going to be about Harold Perkins, and he's literally the first name that comes up. He was unstoppable at times as a freshman last season. He returns as one of the top linebackers in the country after recording 72 tackles, 7.5 sacks, 13 for loss, all team highs. Greg Penn III is actually LSU's top returning tackler at 78, but he'll have a tough battle to beat out Oregon State's transfer Omar Spates. Now, this is interesting. Everybody knows that Harold Perkins was a dude last year. But the thing that most people overlook is that Mason Smith hurt himself with a knee injury in the opener against Florida State. So now I do say that ACL injuries are generally 18-month injuries, and especially with a big guy. So he's probably not going to be as explosive as he was before the Florida State game, especially when they play Ole Miss in the season. But he's going to get better and better in the course of the season. And by the end of the year, this LSU defense could be very, very salty. Defensive tackle Mako Wingo, he was an All-American selection last year in Smith's absence. LSU has a salty defense. Now, this is really interesting, and the question that always gets asked is what wins, offense or defense? And whenever you're going to deal with Ole Miss that has a chance to be very explosive against an LSU defense, it's going to be interesting to see exactly how that goes as well. Remember, LSU beat Ole Miss last year, but Ole Miss did not have Zach Evans in that game. And when Zach Evans was not in the lineup for Ole Miss, that offense was a different animal. So that's something to keep an eye on as well. Now, their final analysis from Athlon says if the defense comes together, which it should, with the players LSU has returning on offense, there's more question marks in my opinion there. The Tigers could be the favorites to repeat as West champions. I kind of agree with that. They can take a step further and make the college football playoff. They have to win and be more successful than they were last year, and Jaden Daniels has to be completely unreal. At a minimum, they'd have to split Florida State and Alabama and run the table in the other 10 games. They're saying 11-1 is the necessary thing for the playoff. Their national preseason ranking is 6th. Now, if you look at their schedule, they've got an interesting, favorable schedule set up. But Ole Miss playing after Arkansas is a beneficial thing. Not because of physicality or anything like that, but just because that LSU is going to have to focus on it. It's a weird schedule. They go Mississippi State in Starkville, at home, Arkansas. They play Ole Miss in Oxford, go to Columbia, play Auburn at home. So it's a 5-game set that is probably going to be fairly difficult for LSU, even though we expect LSU to be pretty good. The Ole Miss LSU matchup predictor, ESPN FPI, has LSU at a 66% chance of winning. Ole Miss at a 33% chance. Should be quite interesting. Now, I said whenever we started this, I expect Ole Miss to win one of the games that they are supposed to lose, and they are going to lose a game that they are supposed to win. This is the game that I think Ole Miss gets. Now, if you look at whenever we broke down the Alabama game, all the factors are in place to where you would think that would be the game that Ole Miss would get. But until Ole Miss wins in Alabama, that's one of those things I just need to see it. I just need to see that over and over again because I saw 2015, but after that, it was kind of a house of horrors. Ole Miss has much better success against LSU and Oxford. It used to be a situation where Ole Miss played well in Baton Rouge, but that's kind of gone away in recent years. But they do play LSU pretty well in Oxford. They won in 2021 or 2022 or something. 2021. Matt Corral and those guys with the powder blue jerseys. I think that was the Manning game, if I'm not mistaken, when Eli got his number retired. But going after the first week of us breaking down this, Ole Miss, in my opinion, is going to be 4-1 at the end of September. What do you think Ole Miss is going to be at the end of September? Whenever you look at those 4 games, how do you expect the start to go for the Ole Miss Rebels? Put that down in the comment and let me know. And we're going to get into October, where there's 3 games in October. We should get to the Georgia game next week. And then during SEC Media Days, the last 2 games. So you can see I kind of planned all this stuff as well. So thank you very much for tuning into the show. I hope everybody has a safe and happy weekend and has a lot of fun and does whatever they need to do. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for basically making this show a monster on the charts at the moment. Ole Miss has a small fan base, and we are punching so far above our weight right now. We're the only Ole Miss show that you see. And that is a cool thing, and it is all because of you. Thank you very much for that. Anyway, thanks again for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. Every dayers, tune in tomorrow. Brian Smith is going to be talking a little bit more about William Eccles. We're going to do the top Mississippi prospects. We're going to do the recruiting show that we usually do. It'll be back on Saturday morning. Also, Tom Vanderford Sunday night will appear, and Derek Vandegrift is also scheduled to appear on Saturday night to talk about the Major League Baseball draft, kind of give you a little preview of that as well. Monday, when we get back, we will continue to start working down the schedule. We'll move into the month of October whenever it hits as well. So we're pretty fired up about really everything that is going on. We're very thankful, and thank you so much for it. I do hope, like I said, I hope everybody has a good weekend. We'll see you then. Hotty toddy.